Hello and welcome, Simon Page here, simonpage.com. Welcome back to my 90 days of mindset, marketing, and entrepreneurship. We are currently in the middle of a series where we're going through setting up a WordPress site from installation to being a full functioning sales funnel. And in this video, we're going to be going through the settings menu and showing you what you need to set on your WordPress site before you start adding any content, uploading any plugins, adding any media, or anything. This is the very first step that you want to go through. So we're going to go all the way through the settings in this video, and we're going to start right here at General. Site title is, of course, the name of your website. And this is my demo site, so I'm just going to call this Simon Page Demo Site. And then you can put a tagline on here, and when people look up your site, they're actually going to see this. I'm going to put a WordPress training site. The WordPress address and the site address you want, these are for when you're setting up complex DNS for your domains. I would not change this unless you've set up a SSL certificate, in which case I would come in here and put the S in there. So, moving on, the site address or the email address is the email address of your administrator. If you change this, you have to have access to this email, because this email address will get an email from your WordPress system confirming that that's allowed. This prevents anyone from spoofing you by taking control of your admin email address. Membership allows you to set whether or not other people can come to your membership site or to your WordPress site and create an account. Site language, you can choose what language you want to show WordPress in. I'm pretty sure almost all of them are represented there. And then set your time zone based on where you are. You can choose by city. And since I'm in the United States and I'm in Denver, Colorado, I choose Denver. And that way I don't have to remember whether it's UTC, Universal Time, which is Greenwich Mean Time. If I'm -8, -7, I can never remember. So I just set it to the city. Date format, pick the date format that you prefer in your to be displayed for, like, when a blog post was posted. I'm very partial to spelling out the words. And then, of course, AM, PM time format, however you want it to look. You can also customize it, and they give you documentation on how to do that. My week starts on Monday, because that's usually when I'm sending out new content, and then you hit Save Changes. And there you go, general settings are set up. Let's go over to writing. If you've set up categories, you can choose what category you want to be your uncategorized. I highly recommend that you create your own uncategorized and set it in this setting. So you could have a default post category of random geekiness, or out of focus for our sample photography blog, right? Unfocused. So use this as a way of adding a little bit to your branding and giving your readers something to look at other than uncategorized. Default post format, you can I choose based on your theme whether you want how you want your posts to look, and I'm not going to go through all of these individually. They just simply change the layout of how each post looks. Post by email lets you send an email. You have to have all this information. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this setup. It's not something that I've seen used a lot in WordPress sites, so we're not going to go through updating that. And then also update services, I always just use Ping-O-Matic, and so nothing else to set on this page. For reading, you want to set a homepage to something besides your latest post. You want to have a homepage that introduces you and introduces your brand, not something that just says, you know, here's my latest posts and that's it. So You will create, in the process of going through this tutorial, you'll create a homepage and a blog post page, and then we will set them here. For now, I'm just going to set these to the 2 pages that happen to already be created, and everything else we can leave the way it is. On discussion, the only thing that I tend to turn on is users must be registered and logged in to comment. I do allow people to register on my site, and I don't want comments from random people. Above and beyond the plugin, this helps prevent comment spam. Everything else I just leave pretty much the same. I do use Gravatar logos under default avatar. This is how, even though I just installed this installation, it has my image in it. And then we save changes. We go to media. Large size. I set large size to 1920 by 1080 because that's the most common monitor format. Medium sized I set to 640 by 480 because 300 by 300 in today's monitors is extremely tiny, and I'm not even sure why this is still set to 300 by 300 by default. And then lastly, the thumbnail size. If you leave this checked and you have a wide image, the 150 by 150 will actually be cropped into a square. So if you don't want your thumbnail to be cropped into a square, you can uncheck this. If you want it to be always cropped into a square, then you can leave this checked. And then uploading files, there's the option to organize uploads into month and year-based folders unless there is a reason in your business. For example, if you're running a photography site where you're uploading your photos every month, this just makes things confusing when you're going back looking for things. I just have a tendency to uncheck that. In permalinks, you're going to want to make sure that post name is set, unless, like I said on media, if you're making blog posts of photo shoots, for example, or you're making recipes every couple of days or something along those lines, day and name might be a good way for you to organize your posts. If your post structure is relevant, if the date that it was posted is relevant to your end user, then you can use day and name or even month and name. Otherwise, I say use the post name. Category base and tag base, I'll cover those in another video. I don't recommend using them, but there are certain cases where they can be useful, so I'll cover those, like I said, in another video. We hit save, and we go down to privacy. And if you've already created your privacy policy, like I said in a previous video, you can just select it and say use this page, or you can create a new page. And those are all the basic settings I recommend using under settings. There's a couple other things that we want to do as far as housekeeping before we start adding a lot to our site. First and foremost, we want to go to Appearance and go to Widgets, and all this randomness that they put in there, we want to drop them down and delete. You may want to keep categories in your sidebar or in your footer, but I don't recommend them. Just get rid of all of this stuff. We will come back to this and build our footer the way we want it. And then menus, you'll actually go into and create pages for your menus. For now, just put in main menu and hit create menu, and you can leave everything else on this page alone. And that's it. That's our basic setup for WordPress. Tune into the next video. We're going to talk about how to install and set up a theme, and I'm going to share with you my #1 recommendation for highly converting themes that are really simple to build your pages and posts with. And again, I'm Simon Page. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you on the next video.